Hello, everyone. I hope you are having a fabulous evening. Happy October 12th. My daughter turns 8 tomorrow, and I'm not okay. Just letting you know. You might want to check on me tomorrow because I'm not handling it well. Welcome tonight to our final and third installment of the arc between adults and motivation. And if you have missed any of the other episodes, know that you can find me on YouTube at Crab Live with Crabtree Coaching Collaborative, and you can watch the replays of the other two videos. So let's go ahead and dive in because we have a special treat for tonight. Now, before we really get started, if you have not done so already, download your free guide using the bit.ly CCCARC all caps. This will walk you through the three biggest factors that motivate adults, and it also provides for each factor three ways that you can incorporate that factor in the education setting. So download your free guide. Make sure you have your hands on that. So you're probably here because you have experienced some of these questions. Maybe you have them yourself. Maybe other coaches have asked them. Maybe you work with an administrator who asks them. But we've kind of already talked about these in the very first video. But looking at these, I want you to just kind of think which one resonates with you the most. Which one have you experienced the most? And I would say for me personally, my biggest block that, it was like the biggest struggle that I worked with was how to hold all team members accountable, because sometimes it just feels kind of ick to monitor your peers and be like, hey, let's get back on track, team. Or sometimes you feel like you shouldn't have to tell people to do their job, but sometimes you do, especially when you know that students will suffer if you don't get to it. So we are going to dive in a little bit deeper on how to motivate those adults in your life. The very first episode, we talked about the importance of autonomy. And when we remove choice from a professional, we are deprofessionalizing them. Choice is a giant motivator. Yesterday, we discussed relevance, that we all want to understand why we're doing something. Why is this relevant? How will it help my students? And today, it's all about competence. And it might not be exactly what you're thinking, but let's see. So, one of my phrases that I tell every district that I go work with is when we are working with adults, we're working with egos. We all have them. Everyone has them. Now, we're looking at an educator. They probably have multiple degrees. They have been experts in their craft. I mean, you think of everything that an educator can do. They can maintain 40 bodies in a classroom, some junior high kids, but at the same time, they can, pick up some vomit and, and call a parent and do like they're able to juggle all of these things. And so oftentimes when there is an opportunity for growth, it's kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Where do I need to grow? Or how you think you can help me? Like, we do experience pushback, and some of that has to do because of egos. So when you are going in as an instructional coach, as an instructional leader, I want you first of all to not take any pushback personally. It is not personal at all, but we are dealing with egos. And so we have to know how to navigate those egos so that we can still see growth occur. So when I'm thinking of competence, I am sitting here thinking to myself as a teacher, can I really do this? Why do I need to do this? What problem does it solve? That goes with the relevance. Can I do this on my own? Can I do it successfully? And how am I going to do this? Because again, remember, we're dealing with egos. And I always equate teaching to being an artist or to being on a stage. Your lessons are your art. Your teaching is your performance. And when anyone comes in and nitpicks at it or puts off any kind of vibe that might seem judgmental, it can be extremely scary. And so it is often easier for me not to try anything new, anything hard, because if I don't know that it's going to be successful the very first time I do it, my ego might get bruised. And then I also need to know, how will I know if it's actually working? Because again, with our egos, we don't want to do something crummy multiple times. We want to ensure that we know how to do something and that we can make sure that it's working. So let's talk about the ways that this can look as an instructional coach working with a teacher, or a principal working with a teacher, and anyone going through a coaching cycle. So the first thing that we can do to strengthen competence is by focusing on the teacher's goals. So as we mentioned the last 2 days, when we are establishing goals, we need to have that relevancy, which is, hey, why do I even need to set a goal? I'm amazing, but we do. And then also that autonomy, teachers choosing their own goals. We are not telling them what their goal is. Teachers are choosing it. So you've already done that. But now let's talk about the competence component. And when we are looking at competence and our goals, the number one thing that you need to do with your teachers is establish success criteria. That's right, I said it. Success criteria, the same thing that we provide for our students. And the reason we provide success criteria with our goals is so that we can monitor progress. But let me tell you the beauty of this. As an instructional coach, I don't tell the teacher what their success criteria is. We dive into their goal and we develop it together. It is a partnership approach. When we are creating those partnership approach and establishing a partnership approach, we are building and fostering respectful relationships, and those egos will lower just a little to allow some vulnerability to try new things. And that is what is so important. So I created an example for you. Here is a simple observation from a classroom. And it was during that 47-minute period, there were 14 disruptions. There was also a severe lack of structure and consistency. And so the teacher decided, you know what? I'm going to do a whole class reset. That's what I want my goal to be. That's where I want to focus, not my goal, my strategy. I want to do a whole class reset. So we discussed, what would success look like? If we're going to start with this whole class reset and work on it for multiple weeks, where are we going to track success? How are we going to do that? And this is what the teacher came up with. Okay, disruptions are going to go down by 10. Like it'll be, the first one was 14. The first time there's only going to be 10 disruptions. Then there's going to be no more than 5, and then 0 disruption. So in a span of 3 weeks, so we're going to have 3 additional observations. This is how we want to see that number decrease. And then we consistently make it through a full lesson cycle was also something that he had mentioned, because it was bell warm up, direct instruction, done, bell rang, time to leave. Because of all the disruptions, they could not go through a full lesson cycle. So it was like, all right, well, in those 3 weeks, you're going to see, Alyssa, that I am going to go through all the full lesson cycle every single time you come in. And then the next point of success criteria was 100% of students would comply with the voice level directives. So if the teacher said level 0, level 1, level 2, whatever the level, they were complying with it. And essentially, they were just complying with the expectations in general. So before I move on to the next one, I just want to kind of show you, notice how when I go into this person's classroom now, I have my monitor sheet. This is my data collection. This is the lens in which he is now providing me an opportunity to focus. That, my friend, is again that collaborative partnership or relationship that is going to transform your coaching. And even with your most veteran teachers who have those egos and are like, why do I need you? Because you showed them the relevance and they chose their goal, now you can track their success. This is where the beauty comes in. So I also, I have a lot of sayings. One of my other sayings that I talk to teachers and coaches about quite often is just a simple question. If I won the lottery tomorrow, the mega millions, and I'm like, deuces, I'm out of here, would your teachers survive without you? If I deuce out, can that teacher still accomplish their goal? Or would they completely be like, oh, she's gone. I can't do it anymore. I had to do it with her. So the next thing that you need to do to strengthen teachers' competence is to create tools for independence. So you've already kind of discussed that success criteria, collaborated on it together. You've discussed strategies that would support the success criteria. But then once the teacher has chosen the strategy or strategies that they want to work on to achieve success, you cannot just use lip service and tell them to go forth and prosper. Advice, just verbal advice, it ain't going to happen. And let me tell you why. One, teachers receive so much information all day long. They are answering over, don't quote me on this. Like, I don't know if this is accurate, but I do remember not too long ago doing a training, and I believe the number was 250 questions per class period or something along those lines. Like they are answering, or maybe it was like they are answering over 500 questions a day, teachers are. And so you think about how overloaded their brains are and how many decisions they are having to make. When you just give them advice, chances are they're going to hear half of it. So what you need to do to make it successful and to strengthen their independence and competence, you need to provide one of three things: a checklist, a guide, or a visual. Because like I said, you're going to win the mega millions tomorrow. You're deucing out. What are they going to do? And so now they could have a checklist that supports their understanding. Okay, I do this first, then I do this. Now, as the instructional coach, it's also your responsibility, and administrator, whoever is giving this advice, these strategies, you need to model, you need to have them rehearse, and you need to provide feedback. I often will get coaches who might show another video, or maybe they'll show them the checklist and talk about, but I don't see any modeling. Modeling is so important. And it doesn't always have to be with a kid, with kids in the classroom. It could just be you two together, and I'm going to stand up and show you. And the reason this is so important is because as you model, you're going to have them watch the checklist or the guide or the visual, and to indicate what you did during those moves. Remember, teachers are inundated with tons of information. If you're just talking at them, they're hearing half of it. So just talking and explaining something to them, as much as your heart desires it, it ain't going to work. So what you need to do is provide a resource that will grow independence, and model, rehearse, provide feedback. So I have an example here. There are just three different examples of checklist or how your checklists could look. These can be guides for this particular teacher. One of the things that we did was a reintroduction of the routines and expectations. This is just, hey, you do this first, this second, this third, this fourth, and then here's a consistency checklist, because that's really where this teacher was falling short. And we had to kind of understand what were their habits. And when we understood like what their habits were, we could address it directly. But I also wanted to show you, this teacher had, or I provided for them like the opportunity flow chart. And one of the things that the teacher had to do was, after a directive was given and then broken, had to go and like point to, okay, I did the verbal warning. Now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do this. And so it built up that strength and momentum. But notice how I could be with the teacher and I can model this. As I am modeling, the teacher sees what I do. They name the moves. We have those conversations. But after a few class visits, and the teacher starts getting the hang of it, or let's say I'm gone one day, we know life is crazy on a campus. So, a fight breaks out. As a coach, I'm the one taking care of things, getting this kid here and this kid here and whatever. If I can't be in the classroom, the teacher has a tool for independence. And we also calendarize, like, day 1, you're going to introduce this to the kids. Day 2, day 3, day 4. But you have created a plan. It is not just, hey, you need to do a whole class reset and let's try to do it. I'll come in again next week and observe. That's not going to help. So be sure that you are following that structure, that you are providing success criteria, and then a tool for independence. So the last thing that I want to show you, I keep doing this. I need a clicker. So the last thing that I want to show you is celebrations. I'm going to tell you right now, those small wins move people forward. You think about it. Anytime that you try a new initiative, if you don't see the results immediately, how long do you stay doing it still? Like, I can't tell you how many diets I've started and ended because I didn't see, results immediately. We live in a society where we want results, but sometimes it's hard for us to see the results if we're in the thick of it as the teacher. So what you're going to do is first look at the success criteria, and alongside the teacher, the two of you are going to determine, how are we going to track this data? Do we want to do a Google form? Do we just want it on a piece of paper? Do we want a note card? Is there something specific that we're looking for? But you need to establish consistent data tracking. So when you go in for an observation, you are looking with this particular win. And then when we're talking about the relevance, I want you to look at the gains, not the gaps. Look at the gains, not the gaps. So look right here. It says compare to a standard. When I'm talking about a standard, what I mean is myself. I'm comparing my progress to myself. The teacher is comparing their progress to the initial standard that was set. So I mentioned earlier that 14 students were disruptive during that 47-minute class period. The next time that I go in there, if only 8 students are disruptive, it could be real easy for that teacher to go, oh my gosh, they're still driving me crazy, whatever. But then I could show him or her, look at these kids though. You had these kids right here back on track. You're making progress. You don't want them to see that there's still an issue and then deflate. What you want is for them to see the small wins along the way. When we see those small wins, we want to keep going. And how many times, again, I hate to going back to this analogy, but like if for me, if I'm going on a weight loss program or something, like I was in Weight Watchers, and you're in the thick of it for so long, and you're just like, oh, I'm not losing any weight, whatever. But then a friend that you haven't seen in a few weeks comes by and they're like, oh, girl, you looking good. Like this and this. And then you're like, oh, maybe it is working. So I want to keep going. We are a society of instant progress. We want instant progress. So compare to a standard, not to someone else or to some unrealistic standard. And then ask the teacher how they want to celebrate. I have had teachers tell me before that they just want to be like, yeah, just give me a high five. Like, let's just have like a little dance party, just have our little moment. Some others have said, you know what? I would love for you to email my appraiser, just like send an email blast, or maybe I really want you to email my team. Those are ways that we can celebrate. Heck, someone might want some candy. It's okay. But have those moments of celebration, because again, when we celebrate and when we see those moments of movement, of progress, people become motivated. So I do have some more examples of what your data trackers can look like. These are some that I've used in the past. I had the classroom behavior tracking system that I use quite a bit. It's the ABC, anecdote, behavior, consequence. And so the teacher might decide, you know what, I just want to have 5 of these. And we're going to, on paper, bam, 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 and we're going to look across the board. You might also have a time tracker. If that's something, we had talked about, one of the success criteria for the teacher was to get through an entire lesson cycle. We would need to track the time. And then also you could just have a walkthrough form. You can put it in Google. You can autocrat it, set up autocrat or mail merge so that it shoots them the feedback right after you're done. But these are different ways that you and the teacher could come up together, because remember, autonomy is key, to track their progress. So just a reminder, when it comes to competence, because we want to strengthen their competence, we need to answer these questions for them. Why do I need this? Why, or what problem does it solve? Can I do this? And how can I do this? That's definitely, that how is going to go into those tools for independence. And how will I know if it is working? Your success criteria and your data tracking. All of these are going to strengthen the teacher's competence and confidence that they can do it. Because again, I'm going to take it all the way back to egos. If it is something, if I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to risk failing or doing something that blows up in my face or something that's just not perfect, that can be really scary for adults, especially if they are very prideful and are very proud of all the work that they've done. Maybe they have had a horrible experience with a coach in the past. Maybe they are extremely insecure. These are all things that as a coach, we need to be mindful of. And if you are experiencing pushback from veteran teachers, mainly because your first year teachers, they all like, tell me everything. I need all the help. But your veteran teachers will often demonstrate pushback. And there's a couple of reasons why. And as the instructional leader, it's your job to kind of navigate that and dig into why. But when you strengthen their competence, that is going to help. So just a recap of what we have experienced the last 3 days. If we want to flip the narrative where we are asking our teachers, hey, I'm here, what do you need? Let's flip it to where they say, oh my gosh, Alyssa, I need you to come in here and help me with this. I want this. I want to grow here. I want to learn this. Instead of, nah, I'm good. We're good. I don't need anything. We want to flip the narrative of I'm going to shut the door as soon as I see you because I don't want to go through a coaching cycle. These are all things that can hinder progress, but we need to find ways to motivate teachers and find that help them be comfortable with us. And so we need to do some of this work on the back end too. But remember, in order to motivate adults, we must provide autonomy. We must demonstrate the relevance, point out the relevance of the need to grow. And that all yesterday, it was about stating the facts. Just like I said, 14 disruptions in 47 minutes. That's a fact that the teacher cannot argue. And then finally, let's strengthen their competence so they have the confidence and know that they can try something new. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. If you have not done so already, download that free guide and feel free to share it with others. If you did miss the other episodes, know that you can go to my YouTube channel. It's just Crabtree Coaching Collaborative. Go to YouTube, type in Crabtree Coaching Collaborative. Be sure that you subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel and share with others. But also visit my website, crabtreecoachingcollaborative.org, for more information. And if you are interested in connecting with me or want me to come out to your campus or district and provide different trainings like this for your instructional coaches, let me know. It has been an honor serving you the last 3 days, and I will see you later, everyone. Have a fabulous